Every Thanksgiving, amidst the cozy dining tables of millions of American families, there's always a vibrant red drawing all eyes, a shimmering bowl of cranberry sauce. But few know that to create this sauce, farmers must flood their fields, transforming them into a gigantic Red Sea in the midst of autumn. This spectacle isn't an artistic effect, but the prelude to one of America's most unique agricultural processes: wet harvesting cranberries. The journey of this quintessential Thanksgiving fruit begins as tiny seedlings and culminates in warm kitchens, where they are cooked into traditional cranberry sauce served with roasted turkey. The journey of tens of millions of turkeys each year begins in large-scale industrial hatcheries, where the delicate biological process is controlled like an automated assembly line. In Minnesota, the leading state in production, every egg undergoes a rigorous selection process: intact shell, uniform size, and standard fertilization rate before officially entering the incubation chamber. Inside the incubation chamber, hundreds of sensors constantly monitor temperature, humidity, and airflow, automatically adjusting to a tenth of a degree. Egg trays are rotated cyclically to mimic natural conditions under a mother hen, helping embryos develop uniformly. After 7 days, all eggs are illuminated by a specialized candling system for technicians to identify healthy embryos. Those without developing blood vessels are immediately removed from the line, optimizing space and energy for healthy embryos. By the 3rd week, the eggs are transferred to the hatcher. Within 24 to 48 hours, tens of thousands of turkey chicks hatch almost simultaneously and fall into soft collection trays to reduce shock. The first loop of the assembly line is complete. From here, the turkey chicks move on to a new stage: vaccination, sorting, and transport to farms across America. As soon as they leave the hatcher, turkey chicks are placed on a continuous conveyor belt, where every operation is performed in seconds to process tens of thousands of individuals in one hatch. The first step is a quick health check. Staff observe their ability to stand, reflexes, and down feather condition to remove weak or deformed individuals. Next, the chicks are introduced to an automated vaccination system, a mandatory standard in the American poultry industry. Injections for respiratory diseases and common viruses are administered using specialized needles at high speed, minimizing pain and infection risk. The line speed allows thousands of birds to be processed per hour. After vaccination, chicks are weighed and sorted by weight. This grouping helps flocks at the farm grow uniformly, reducing competition at feeders and limiting disease. At the end of the process, chicks are placed into specialized transport crates with ventilation holes and soft bottoms. They are loaded onto temperature-controlled trucks, preparing for their journey to farms across the United States. At 1 day old, turkeys have undergone the first industrialization process, the beginning of over 6 months of growth in large-scale farms. In the United States, over 2,500 turkey farms operate under an industrialized model, with Minnesota, North Carolina, and Arkansas being the largest production regions. These farms function as programmed biological systems, where every factor is controlled by technology. In enclosed barns, the entire environment is sensor-regulated. Tunnel ventilation systems create airflow along the length of the barn, removing moisture and ammonia gas and maintaining stable temperatures despite changing weather. Sensors monitor temperature, humidity, and air quality, sending data to a central controller. If the temperature rises by 1 to 2 degrees Celsius, high-capacity fans or ventilation curtains automatically activate. When it's cold, natural gas heaters take over heating. Barn floors are covered with sawdust bedding to absorb moisture and inhibit bacteria. Feeders and drinkers operate fully automatically, distributing rations according to each growth stage. Feed consisting of soy, corn, wheat, and minerals is constantly adjusted to optimize growth rates. Some farms incorporate free-range areas, allowing turkeys access to natural light and outdoor exercise. The outdoor areas are fenced and monitored by cameras to deter wild animals and bad weather. At night, or when temperatures drop, turkeys are brought back into the barns. Throughout their growth, turkeys go through various developmental stages, each with different environmental requirements. The first week requires high heat to support immunity. As they grow larger, cooling and ventilation systems work harder to accommodate rapidly increasing body weight. Sensor data helps farms detect abnormalities early, reducing losses and maintaining stable flocks. After nearly 6 months of continuous rearing in industrial farm systems, turkeys begin to reach their ideal market weight, from 30 to 40 pounds, depending on the purpose of processing. This is also the most sensitive stage, as any changes in the environment or flock health can greatly affect meat quality and harvest yield. To prepare for the catching and transportation process, farms undertake a crucial step, minimizing stress for the flock. Turkeys are easily startled, and a loud noise or excessive light can cause thousands of birds to move chaotically. This is not only dangerous, but also directly impacts meat quality. Therefore, for 24 hours before harvesting, barns will dim the lights, maintain a quiet environment, and minimize the presence of strangers. When the lights are low, turkeys naturally become calmer, allowing the harvesting team to work quickly and safely. Additionally, farm technicians check breathing rates, gait, and eating levels to detect individuals showing unusual signs. Weak, injured, or diseased birds are separated to avoid affecting the entire batch. Another indispensable step is preparing access routes and areas, ensuring transport vehicles can get close to the barns without creating loud noises. Barn floors are leveled to prevent turkeys from tripping when workers catch them manually or when semi-automated collection systems are used. When all conditions are ready, the mature turkey flock enters the final stage of its life cycle at the farm and moves to a completely different process: mass harvesting on a national scale, where millions of turkeys are gathered in just a few peak weeks each year. Every year, in October and early November, the American turkey industry enters its peak season, a race against time to collect over 100 million birds in just a few weeks. Large farms in Minnesota, North Carolina, and Arkansas must coordinate closely with processing plant systems to ensure progress. At a standard farm, harvesting usually begins at midnight, when dim light and cool air help calm the turkey flock. Lights in the collection area are reduced to the lowest level to minimize stress and ensure safety. Many farms still use manual catching methods. A harvesting team of 10-20 people moves in a line, gently holding birds by their legs and placing them into transport crates. This technique requires precision to avoid injuries that could affect meat quality. In larger farms, semi-automated collection systems are used. Conveyor belts move birds onto trucks faster and reduce risk for workers. Immediately after being crated, turkeys are transferred to transport trucks with forced ventilation. Continuous airflow helps reduce heat shock, a factor that can cause losses during transit. Even if traveling only 2 to 3 hours to the processing plant, trucks must maintain stable temperatures and secure crate tiers to prevent birds from being jostled. Minnesota, the leading state with 44 million birds annually, has harvest days reaching 200,000 cows, 300,000 birds. North Carolina and Arkansas operate on a similar scale, creating a massive supply chain connecting farms and processing plants. During peak season, coordination between harvesting, transportation, and processing is continuous, with no room for error. A single day's delay can impact the entire production and distribution schedule for Thanksgiving. As trucks loaded with mature turkeys enter the receiving area, the entire farm operation immediately transitions to an industrialized processing line with extremely high throughput. Each day, modern plants can process from 100,000 to over 150,000 turkeys, yet the number of workers is extremely small, only about 40-50 people for the entire line, as most of the work is automated. The process begins with stunning. Turkeys are guided into an electrical or CO2 stunning system, causing them to lose sensation and minimizing pain. This is a mandatory USDA requirement to ensure animal welfare and safety in subsequent steps. Immediately afterward, they are hung on the line and pass through an automated bleeding cluster. Precisely programmed blades cut the carotid artery, allowing blood to drain quickly, preventing bruising of the skin and maintaining stable meat quality. Next is the scalding and feather removal stage. In hot water at a carefully calculated temperature, feather follicles soften, allowing the soft rubber fingers of the plucking machine to clean almost the entire surface of the turkey's body in a few seconds. Rotation speed, friction force, and contact time are all controlled to avoid tearing the skin, which is very important for whole turkey products used for Thanksgiving. Once all feathers are removed, turkeys enter the most complex stage, automatic evisceration. This was once the most labor-intensive part of poultry processing, but is now performed by a sophisticated mechanical system comprising cutting blades, pulling hooks, and robotic arms. Internal organs are separated without breaking the intestines or allowing waste to contact the meat. The heart, liver, and neck are retained to be packaged with the whole turkey, while other parts are sent to the byproduct processing area. The turkey carcass is then washed and disinfected with a high-pressure spray system, completely removing residue and down feathers. The water often contains safe levels of chlorine or peracetic acid to reduce microbial load. At the next inspection point, USDA inspectors stand directly on the line to evaluate the quality of each batch, ensuring all products meet food safety standards before proceeding. Next, turkeys are introduced to a rapid chilling system. Depending on the plant, the method can be immersion in 0 up to 4 degrees Celsius cold water or air chilling. The goal is to bring the core meat temperature below 4 degrees in the shortest possible time to prevent bacterial growth. At the end of the line, turkeys are sorted, packaged, and frozen. Products can be sold whole, cut into parts, or further processed according to market demand. For frozen turkeys, the standard is deep freezing to 18 degrees Celsius, allowing preservation for months while maintaining meat structure and flavor. From a living organism on the farm, it takes only a few dozen minutes for a turkey to go through the entire processing line and become a finished product. And when it leaves the plant, its journey is still not over, because behind it is a massive distribution system preparing to deliver millions of turkeys to every home across America. The post-processing journey begins at central cold storage, where tens of thousands of tons of turkeys are stored at 18 degrees Celsius. From here, products are transferred to distribution centers, DCs, warehouses dozens of meters high, containing hundreds of pallet racks and utilizing automated guided vehicles, AGVs, to sort and move goods. At the DC, turkeys are grouped according to the requirements of each supermarket chain, such as Walmart, Costco, Kroger, or Whole Foods. Each retail system has its own weight standards: 10-12 pounds, 12-14 pounds, 14-18 pounds, or large 20-pound types. Even an off by a few ounces deviation will lead to rejection from the standard batch. After sorting, turkeys are loaded onto specialized refrigerated trucks, maintaining temperatures between 18 degrees Celsius and 20 degrees Celsius. Trucks are equipped with temperature sensors, alert systems, and GPS to ensure that even a 4-degree temperature increase is immediately addressed. Transport routes are pre-calculated by AI systems to avoid ice, traffic jams, and ensure goods arrive at supermarkets on the correct Thanksgiving display date. Upon arrival at the store, turkeys are stored in cold storage and brought out to the display counter daily. For fresh turkeys, unfrozen fresh poultry, the shelf life is only 7 to 10 days, so the entire process must be calculated down to the hour. A small portion of turkeys for Alaska and Hawaii are transported by air freight closer to the holiday. When Americans enter the supermarket, they only see neatly packaged turkeys, but behind that is a massive 24/7 logistics system. This tradition has existed since the 16th century, when turkeys became an important food source for immigrants, and continued into the 18th century, when President Alexander Hamilton declared that no citizen of the United States should be without a turkey on Thanksgiving Day. When a turkey leaves the supermarket and appears in an American kitchen, it becomes the centerpiece of a culinary ritual filled with family meaning, tradition, and gratitude. A ritual repeated hundreds of millions of times throughout American history. To prepare for this momentous roast, the first step is always thawing. An average 6 to 7 kg frozen turkey needs 2 to 3 days to thaw in the refrigerator. That is the safest method, helping the meat retain moisture and texture. Once fully thawed, the chef will remove the neck and giblets from the cavity, parts that are later used for broth or gravy. The turkey is patted dry inside and out before embarking on the most important stage, seasoning and flavoring. In many American families, butter is an indispensable ingredient. A mixture of softened butter, olive oil, kosher salt, black pepper, paprika, garlic powder, and onion powder is thoroughly mixed. Butter not only helps the skin turn golden and crispy, but also keeps the breast meat moist, which tends to dry out during roasting. A characteristic technique is to gently separate the skin over the turkey breast and spread butter underneath. When roasted, this layer of butter slowly melts, penetrating the meat fibers, creating the juiciness and distinctive flavor of American turkey. In the cavity, Americans often stuff natural aromatics, onions, celery, garlic, lemon, fresh rosemary, and thyme. This is not stuffing, as most modern families no longer stuff bread inside the turkey due to uneven cooking risks, but merely used to infuse aroma during roasting. Before going into the oven, the turkey is trussed with cotton twine, wings tucked under the body to prevent burning, and placed on a rack in a roasting pan to allow hot air to circulate evenly. A little broth is poured into the bottom of the pan to maintain moisture and provide drippings for gravy after roasting. The turkey is roasted at 325 degree or 163 degree Laos. The cooking time varies by weight. For a 5 to 7 kilos turkey, it usually takes 3 to 4 hours. Every 45 minutes, the cook opens the oven and bastes the turkey skin to maintain moisture and help the skin brown beautifully. The standard internal temperature for American turkey is 74 degree House in the breast and 82 degree House in the thigh. Once this level is reached, the turkey is removed from the oven and allowed to rest for 20-30 minutes. This resting period allows the juices in the meat fibers to redistribute, preventing them from flowing out when sliced, ensuring each slice of meat is tender and moist. Parallel to the roasting process, many families prepare gravy, the distinctive sauce that is indispensable. The drippings from the roasting pan are simmered with flour and chicken broth. When thickened, the gravy is seasoned with salt and pepper, creating a sauce that can connect the entire meal, from breast meat and thighs to mashed potatoes and cornbread. When the golden brown turkey is placed on the table, that moment marks the end of a journey lasting over half a year. From an egg in a Minnesota hatchery to an industrial farm, a processing plant, a refrigerated truck, and a local supermarket. But it also opens another journey, a journey of togetherness, of gratitude, of family stories told around the dining table. That's why, every year on Thanksgiving, turkey is not just a dish, it's a symbol of an entire agricultural industry, a history, and a long-standing tradition in American culture. If you found any moment in this journey interesting, or have fond memories of delicious roasted turkey you've eaten, please leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories about high-tech agriculture, where machines, advanced techniques, and colossal numbers create a vibrant picture of the global food industry.